You've came here for one reason and one reason only, and that's to get better at Apex. You want some juicy tips and tricks, and I'm here to deliver. You may know all the tips, or you may know none of them, but I can guarantee you there are plenty of predators who don't know all of these tips, as I have run into so many who have questioned these things. So sit back, relax, and take in some knowledge with some Blue GB content. You can check if you're currently inside the zone by looking at your map. If the ring to the next zone is blinking, then that means you're currently outside the zone, and if it stops blinking, then you're inside and it won't take damage when the zone finally closes. This is extremely useful for checking if the building you're currently in or your little rat spot is inside the zone or not, and I've surprised a lot of Predator players before by seeming like I'm outside the zone when I'm actually completely 100% safe. Tip number 2 is about stocks. I've done a video before in the past explaining the common misconceptions community have about attachments and breaking down how they actually function, and it's actually my most popular video. But by far one of the most common misconceptions I hear is about stocks reducing weapons recoil. This is far from the truth, and the only function a stock has is to reduce the weapon's sway while ADSing and to decrease the swap speed. A good tip is to understand that stocks reduce the swap speed by a percentage, so it'll be far more beneficial to use it on a Spitfire than a gun like the Volt or the R99. Stabilizers work in the same fashion, so try and keep your stabilizers on guns like the R9 instead of using them on low recoil guns like the Volt and the Carbine. Tip number 3 has to do with the newly introduced golden mags. Golden mags take the exact same time to reload your gun regardless of how much ammo you've used or what weapon you're currently using. So try to keep your gold mags on weapons like the 30-30 Repeater or the Spitfire, which have insanely long reload times, and try and take advantage of the consistent reload time with the ammo used. Gold mags also take exactly 5 seconds to reload, so keep that in mind. The next tip has to do with wall jumping. If you aren't familiar with wall jumping, it's a very common term and movement technique which most of the people in the community already understand and have perfected. But this is the basic rundown, is that you slide jump onto a wall or surface and then wall hop off of it the exact moment you hit it so that you keep all your momentum and slide in midair. If you didn't know, you can use wall jumping to vault over a wall you would otherwise need to climb. This can save time and make you far more difficult to hit in situations where you're running away from a squad or just avoiding gunfights. Tip number 5 also has to do with wall jumping. When wall jumping off a small surface which forces you to vault, hold the S key just before grabbing onto the surface to negate the animation. The timing can be a bit awkward as you want to press the button right before touching the surface, followed by a jump straight after. On the subject of vaulting, when jumping onto an object which is just tall enough to force you to vault, turn 180 degrees away from the surface. The game can't force you to vault if you're not looking at the current object, but if the object's small enough, you can still land on top of it. Granted, the object has to be in the sweet spot of being tall, but small enough to be able to slide jump onto. When strafing, the best moves you can do are with your head. Looking away from your target and looking down at the ground can greatly reduce the chances of being headshot, and combined with moving left to right with your camera movements can make your hitbox move sporadically and really hard to hit. This is extremely helpful when playing Wraith, as you can phase out of fights even if you're getting shot at, without taking nearly as much damage. When using Octane Stim, you can perform what's called a bunny hop while healing. Bunny hops are basically slide jumping and then strafing left to right continuously to keep your momentum. I won't explain how you do it in this video, as there are plenty of tutorials on YouTube for so many games and how to bunny hop, so if you're interested, try searching. I'm being serious when I say that there's a lot of videos. But this is interesting to know, as they did patch out bunny hop healing all the way back before season 1, but you can still perform it with Octane, which makes it even more busted. If you haven't already used a beacon for the current zone, you can start scanning just before the ring closes to pop an instant scan. The timing I recommend is to wait until the zone has 1.5 seconds left, as it will give you some slight leeway in case you miss the timing. Number 10 is that zone damage increases when the ring begins to move and not when the zone actually finishes. This can be a little confusing, as some people assume that the round timer on the map corresponds to the zone's damage. I've actually had an argument with someone who claimed to have over 1,000 hours scrim experience in tier 1, but didn't know this simple game mechanic. So this is probably something which a lot of people don't actually know. Now, number 11 I feel is going to help out a lot of people. Due to the Mastiff spread being a straight line, it's actually far more consistent to aim for the chest rather than the head. If you keep hitting 13s with your Mastiffs, then consider full body shots, especially from mid ranges, as headshots in theory offer the most damage, The amount of pellets that actually consistently hit the head make it pointless to go for headshots unless extremely close. Another tip I can try and give you is to avoid using sights like the 1x Classic, as I personally find that it encourages me to go for headshots with the Mastiff instead of body shots. Iron sights and digis are in my opinion the best for Mastiffs. I use the top little line on the iron sight Mastiff to aim for the head, so I'm still naturally going for the head, but my shot ends up hitting the body, which is more consistent. And I use the same method for the digithreats. I use the outer ring on the digithreat scope and use that to line up my headshot, and then I naturally go for the body shot instead. Number 12 is another tip to do with the Mastiff and the Mozambique. The Mastiff and the Mozambique share a unique property which tightens the spread when ADS'd. Use this to your advantage by quickscoping, as this will ultimately let you do more damage by firing a more condensed shot. Number 13 is for the new holds. You can see whether a hold has already been opened on the other end by seeing if the little LED screen has been greyed out. Additionally, you can also open the other door from the inside without needing to use any grenades. Number 14, an easy and consistent way to shoot down flyers is to shoot them once to aggro them. Wait for them to flap their wings 3 times, then shoot another bullet anywhere in the body. You can just shoot the leg to let the box drop instantly, but I personally prefer this method as it's a lot simpler and allows you to do other things like plan rotations or just re-chat while doing it. The last tip is a very niche movement mechanic called tap strafing. Tap strafing is one of the many movement techniques originating from Titanfall and allows you to quickly shift your momentum 90 degrees mid-air. It's very complicated to explain, and there's already an amazing video by Moki Sniper both demonstrating and explaining how to perform this technique. The basic idea is that you use forward acceleration along with a turn and camera movement to shift all your momentum to the side without losing any from side strafes. Like I said, this movement technique is very complicated and I wouldn't recommend anyone going out of their way to learn it unless you want to impress your friends or include it in a fancy movement montage. I hope you learned a few things about Apex which you didn't already know in this video, and if there was a couple things, please let me know in the comments. Additionally, if there's any other tips and tricks you'd like to tell me in the community, let us know in the comments. If you liked the video, please consider liking and subscribing, it really does help me out a lot. I'm live every day on Twitch-ish. Don't take me up on that, I'm not very consistent at all. But I've been Blue, I hope you enjoyed the video, have a gorgeous day, and I'll hopefully see you soon. Skr!